Hey everybody, Nikki Coble here, creator, producer of Awkwardly, with a very exciting moment on a very exciting day that I cannot wait to share with you. First though, a few stories from the road. Story number one. So a year ago today, on November 5th, 2017, we were about halfway through our production schedule. And every day that we filmed, we would do 2 episodes in one day. And on this, our 5th day of filming, we were finally getting to shoot 2 episodes in the same location, which only happened twice in 20 episodes. So this was a huge relief because we had the largest number of actors we were gonna have on set at one time and to cover individually in one day. And so that was a huge challenge that was already set up for us. On top of that, these were very dear friends of mine, and I, as a very eager and ambitious producer, promised hard outs to my friends, which if you've never produced before and you want to, you should never ever do that. It was a huge mistake, but not because of them. I had every trust and every faith that they would bring awesome work to the table, they would come prepared, they would come ready to play, and then they would have to get on their way to get to their responsibilities. And I valued that so much. I said, of course, we'll make it happen because I love having you there and I cannot wait to make this work for you. So I made those promises, and then the nightmare happened. And the nightmare was what happens when our light bulbs in our lighting instruments started to pop one by one while we were filming. And we kept having to shuffle instruments around and try to replace those bulbs, and those bulbs would pop. And I think it was a combination of a bad pack of bulbs plus the really sort of vintage electricity at the bar at Astoria where we were at. I mean, you have no idea what you're getting into when you rent these locations on your own. And if we were a huge budget production, we would have a generator. These things would not happen. However, that was the challenge that we were faced with. And much to our luck, it was tremendously lucky, I cannot stress that enough, that a friend of one of the actors, another director of photography, had come to visit our set that day. He had asked if it was cool, and we said, absolutely, come on by. And he wanted to show everybody this gadget that he had for Video Village. And that meant that he was on set when everything hit the fan and the wheels came off. And so when we were sputtering and not knowing what to do, he actually volunteered to go home and get another instrument for us to borrow, and we ended up using it for the rest of production. And it was just such an important lesson for me because producing for about 5 years, I had always thought that being a good producer was making sure that nothing went wrong. And what it actually is being prepared when things do go wrong, because they always will in some fashion. And being prepared and being level-headed and just trying to seek help when you need it and be open to whatever resources are going to come to your aid is the key. And I was so grateful to Matt Simpkins for coming in and saving the day and for helping us for the rest of production because of that. And it just meant a lot to me because at one point on set that day, there were 15 people who had showed up, all because I had a crazy idea. And they set aside their dream, they set aside their other commitments, they took time out of their day to show up and do their best for something that was important to me. And I remember being so humbled by it and emotional, thinking, I've let them all down, everything is going wrong, and there's nothing I can do. And I didn't have to do anything. It came to me. And I just thought that that was such a special moment, and I'm absolutely grateful for it, and we're so lucky that it went that way. Story number 2. So earlier in 2017, in about August, I found myself with a handful of ideas about this show that I wanted to make and the friends that I wanted to work with whose work that I admire. And I hadn't fleshed it all out yet. I didn't know entirely who the cast would be. I didn't know who all the directors would be or even the locations where these things would happen because I hadn't written most of the scenes yet. I think I had about 6 out of 20. But for some reason, I felt like I had to seize this moment or be forced to wait 6 months, and I just couldn't bear the thought of doing that. So I started the fundraising campaign with our cast and crew, and everybody was so wonderful in sharing it, but most of what happens when you fundraise is you have to write personalized emails so that you're connecting with people. And the second that we started the ball rolling, there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico, and the political climate was particularly tense, and it felt like maybe the wrong time to follow through. And I had to keep coming back to it and saying, just from a more humble perspective, all I mean to offer is some joy to people. All I want to do is collaborate with my friends. I want us to have fun. I want us to connect, and I want to be able to offer this series to people for whatever it's worth to them, to binge on it, to just have a little time outside of the overwhelm that's going on right now. So we continued, and through the process of fundraising, I was actually reconnected with a friend from high school who credited me with being the reason that he passed chemistry class, because I was his partner, and I know I was terrible in chemistry, but it meant a lot to me that he was able to tell me just because I reached out. So it was a great opportunity to reconnect with some people that I hadn't with in a long time. I met new people along the way. One of our 2 executive producers, someone I didn't even know when I set out to raise our funds for this series, came on and at the executive producer level, and he and the other executive producer between them basically carried the brunt of what was our initial goal. We've transcended that now, and it's a really exciting time. And last night I had somebody who was a complete stranger to me find us on social media, and we were following each other because we're both in the industry, and that person came on at the associate producer level because they enjoy supporting art. And it was just another example of the things that you couldn't possibly plan when you set down to do the thing, when all you have is the catalyst and the impetus to do it, and you don't know all the answers, and you do it anyway. Awesome things happen. Story number 3. So before any of this happened, I was sitting down to dinner and having a chat with a friend of mine who is a director in the industry as well as a well-known actor from a popular TV series, and we were talking about our careers. And he said that he was very well aware that the tremendous success that he had enjoyed was a happy accident. There was no way he could have planned it. It was the kind of thing that could have landed on the guy behind him in line, and he just was so grateful for the fact that he got to keep working amongst the people that he was working with. And I said, I would love to work with someone like you again, but I also love working with my friends because they make me better. I love what they do. I admire them. I look up to them. I'm inspired by what they do, and that's why I make my own work, and I've been doing that for about 5 years. And he said, yeah, but you're talking about acting and writing and producing, and it just sounds like you're kind of all over the place. I really think you should focus and pick one thing. And I said, I don't want to. I want to keep collaborating, and I almost don't care what angle I do that from because I just want to be part of telling the story. And then he challenged me, and he said, well, do you really think you could be doing all those things well? I said, no, absolutely not. And he said, well, then why do you do it? And because if fame is the thing that you're after, or a certain level of notoriety, you should stop right now, because that's not a guarantee. And I said, that's not it at all. I just want to surround myself, again, with people that I admire and do the work and tell the stories. And so he said, well, why do you do it? And I had to think about it for a second. I said, because there is magic in the moment when we tell stories and somebody in the dark who we will never meet is confronted with their own humanity or embraced by it. They're moved to tears or moved to laugh, or they have a new thought that they didn't have before, or flip something around and get to look at it from a different angle. And there is just that moment of shared humanity where somebody knows that they're not alone. That's why I do this. And he said, oh, well, then I think you have to write the story that only you can write. And I set out to do that. And now, over a year later, when I'm about to hit the button for picture lock on this series, I'm so moved by that idea, because the reason that Awkwardly is the show that only I could write is not because of how I write or whatever gifts I can bring to the table. Awkwardly is the show that only I could write because of everyone I'm connected to, who elevates what I'm able to do, how big I'm able to dream, and the stories that I'm able to tell, because the work that everyone brought to this show transcended anything that I could have planned. So I thank everybody who hopped on board. I thank everyone who contributed to our campaign. I thank everyone who said yes. I thank everyone who said no, because the result is a series that I'm tremendously proud of, and a network of people who I am beyond in love with. And if you don't mind, I'd love to share this little moment with you. Why don't I put my computer back on and hit picture lock? Thank you all so much. Cheers. So that is a very thrilling moment, and I'm so glad that I could share it with you. But I have a final thought. Whatever it is that you feel called to do, whatever art you want to make, whatever difference you want to make, whatever impact you want to have, whatever story you want to tell, that you're slightly afraid you don't have all the answers for. You're not supposed to. You don't have all the resources for. You're not supposed to. Because whatever it is that you're here to do is a lesson. You're not meant to know it before you start. If you did, you wouldn't need to take that ride. I am so grateful to everyone who showed up to teach me. And I wish for you that whatever it is that you are feeling called to do, you seize right now. Take it on. Trust that the resources and the answers and the opportunities will unfold, but you have to leap first. Well, first vote. Do that first. And then unicorns and rainbows. Because this feeling of accomplishment, when you've seen it through something that felt impossibly far away, this feeling is, without hyperbole, amazing. Go do it.